Number 18, look at all these things I've just given you. They cost next to nothing to start. They deliver exactly what the people have been complaining about, and everyone gets to their happy place. Now the next one is something we haven't spoken about, and that's the bigger issues. And that's something like our relationship with China. I mean, how ridiculous is that to have ScoMo and that bashing his chest saying we'll show them. They're 27-to-1 population of us. You know, they're probably the same ratio of every sort of tank, submarine, missile, the stuff that's going around. I'm a person who's travelled the world. I was at China just before the outbreak with my family. I'm all about relationships. I think I understand the Chinese people a little bit better, and also their leader. I'll give you one example. If you've got a close friend there and you're talking with them and you get the whiff on their breath that they've got a rotten tooth, there's decay there. You're at the party, you're at the restaurant, do you crawl it out? Do you scream out, hey, you know, Bobby's, look at the bloody mouth on him? No. You go up to a quiet moment, you turn shoulder to shoulder, put your hand on the side and say, I don't want to be offensive, but mate, you're probably not aware of it, but you might have a bit of tooth decay, your breath smells. Now, you can see, you can regulate that, you know what's going on because you're there and you know them and they know you. And what do you think their reaction would be? Chances are they're shocked, but they're pleased you told them. That's how I'd work a relationship with China. I'd actually be a friend, I'd try to understand them better and them understand us. Vanuatu, Solomon Islands, the likes, I took my daughters around there on a cruise a couple of years ago where we retraced my father and my wife's father's service history. And we went through these fantastic tours around there, but again, geez, it was insightful to know how those people live and how they operate, and a lot of it is a bit like our Indigenous people. If somebody has wealth, the whole family, all the Laotians are entitled to a bit of it. So in those countries, something that's solved their issues has been that you've had the Chinese traders run all the shops, and the people don't mind that. That issue that flashed up recently was about, you know, one island, one population was supporting people from Taiwan who'd been their traders for so long, but one politician decided, oh, well, Chinese want Taiwan back, Chinese are bigger than Taiwan, I'm going to side with Chinese mainland, and that's where the conflict came. The sorts of things that have been thrown back at us in Australia are incomplete by most media, particularly the ones that are the Murdoch media. ABC, SBS do a great job by comparison, so please try to focus your attention with them. So, in that situation, we've got to go back there and again be a friend. Go over there at the right level, sit down with them, have a carver, try to understand where they're coming from, and be a friend, not an overlord saying we're smarter than you, we're cleverer than you. I mean, one little tour we did there to people in Alatau, and probably the southern tip of Papua New Guinea. Fantastic. They did a presentation so people off the tourist boats could see what life was like for people that were living in the villages. And they showed us how to do this and how basically a coconut could be made into clothing, into a sunscreen, into a food, into everything like that. All dressed in indigenous historical clothes, you know, look like they've come out of the jungle, and fantastic. At the end of it, I'm having a chat to them. So the lady that's running this thing is a 16-year-old girl, and she's just trying to do something innovative for her community, and she's fantastic at the marketing in the front for it all. Her mother was a high school teacher. I think she might have been a high school principal, but she could see when these boats come in that she can earn a month's wages in one day by getting people to these sort of events, and that the public responds to, I'm a foreigner, I want to know the Indigenous experience. And her husband, he too, was like an engineer, and incredibly intelligent fella. But when you look at them dressed in their local stuff, telling the story the way that the visitors want to have it to feel like they're going back to the culture of the people of the time, you wouldn't think it. Ask that one more question. Don't look at somebody on face value and say, that's who you are. And once you do that, it's much easier to get along, and you have respect for them because you realise, bloody hell, I was wrong. They're clever people. They're wonderful. They're doing their bit. We should learn from them. That's a great model. So I'd go over there and have a chat. I would go over there and listen. I'd go and ask them what they think we could do to work together. China's in that area. They were there when we were there years ago. They had their ships offshore. They're all quite helpful. They come in and do things. There's a role for everybody. We don't have to be competitive here. The focus here is to help the people in those islands. I don't think Australia should get too excited about whether there's ships going there or not. It's whether you keep doing things. If Australia keeps beating its chest and talking about war, as we've seen with the history of war, you do it long enough, you've gone and alerted your enemy, and your enemy will say, you're actually having a go at me every day of the week, I've got to shut you up because you're ridiculous. When you've got somebody with so much power, so far, far greater than ours, you're taking it the wrong way. And again, we've been selling land to China for years in here. We've been getting China to make all of our produce. You've got such an ignorant viewpoint now saying, We'll show them. Get along. And the last point is a bit more controversial, and it's about helping the people in the Ukraine. Now, I sent a suggestion over there to the Ukrainian Prime Minister. People who know these things know that there's a particular portable anti-tank weapon that's only $30,000, and that there's a particular drone that's only $5,000. And you can get it on GoFundMe pages where people put together a $35,000 package. We're saying that they could be flown in for an hour at a time into the Ukraine. The Ukrainian person then goes and puts their mobile phone onto the cradle, recharges the battery and sends that drone with the anti-tank weapon on it another hour in. And what we've suggested is that President Putin should know that this is possible and know that this can happen overnight, and that the world can go and fund these things at only $35,000 a time. And if you had 1,000 of those in the Ukrainian hands in a week, the war would be over. But what I'm suggesting is we need to tell Mr. Putin that this is the concept, this is possible, and if you don't pull your troops out now, the GoFundMe will start, these anti-tank missiles will start. Remember at the start of the war, we had that dramatic shots of tanks, people just coming up with something on their shoulder and going bang? This particular product is something that the UK provided 18 of at the start of the war in February, and they're the images you're seeing. Those images you see where a helicopter shot down or a jet shot down, it's the same product. So $35,000, be it 1, be it 100, be it 1,000, that will change the face of that war for the Ukrainian people. I know it's controversial, but that same technology is what Australia should adopt. We should have that all around the boundaries of Australia. If you're concerned about any threat coming to us, imagine you've got that on your shores. Imagine they can go to an arsenal and have it released to the populace. So when you say that a war's been declared and we've been attacked, all of a sudden we have got tools and weapons that will take out the aggressor's intentions. We've become a very defendable nation that just, these things sit locked away, they have a 20-year shelf life, but it's only when somebody crosses our border that they be activated. And who'd cross your border if you've got $25 million people and a heck of a lot of these things sitting there in a defence system ready to go? The drones can be used by everybody every day, you just go and keep the missiles locked away. Simple little concept, very cheap, easily funded, easy transportable, and solves the problem. Wacky and out there, but hey, put it on the table, Mr. Putin, you need to get your troops home.